Welcome back.
Music.
Unapologetically.
We're not sorry.
Oh, no. Yeah. Travis and Adam back at it again with another episode of the Music Unapologetically, powered by the original Highly Unapologetic, the podcast. I don't know if people knew that.
It's offshoot.
Yeah. So, what's going on, man? It's been a minute.
It has. Life's good, except remember that weird skin thing I had in Denver?
Yeah. Is it back?
It's back.
Oh, no.
But because of that, got more data,
Yeah. Okay.
as we say. And actually I have a diagnosis now.
Oh, yeah?
It's called cholinergic urticaria.
All I heard was colon. Does
Yep.
that have to do with your butthole?
It can.
Oh, okay, good.
It can.
Good.
So I actually have a specialist appointment on Wednesday.
Okay.
Hopefully that goes somewhere good.
Is he going to tell you to give up the nicotine altogether?
Actually, it has nothing to do with it.
Really?
Yeah, it's basically your body. There's 4 different types, but without getting into any depth, basically your body can't regulate temperature well,
Okay.
and so you initially or ultimately you're allergic to cold weather. Or for some
Interesting.
people, like one of the subtypes is they're allergic to hot weather. But when it's cold out, and then my body acclimates to cold.
Yeah.
When it goes from switching from cold to hot, it's like an allergic reaction. But then when so during the summer, remember I had no issues.
Yeah.
Once it's hot, your body acclimates to hot and it stays hot. And
Yeah.
it's fine with that. That has something to do with the humidity in the air and moisture in the skin and things like that. So
Man, you're like a automobile. Mm-hmm. Where you run good there in the summer when it's hot, and then once it gets cold,
yeah, change the oil.
yeah, like it struggles to start
That's
and
it.
turn over, and
So what happens is the kind that we believe I have is called poral occlusion, which is where your pores don't allow sweat out easily
Yeah.
once it gets cooler. And so what happens is instead of the sweat breaking out of the pore, it gets stuck, and then it spreads out in your skin, and it feels like an allergic reaction.
got it.
So every morning now, my management strategy is I bought a little portable sauna
Okay.
that I sit in every morning for about 30 minutes. I break a sweat. So in the CU world, it's called sweat therapy. So you force yourself to sweat. It hurts like hell.
Where does one acquire a portable sauna?
Amazon.
Oh yeah.
It was awesome, man. Yeah, it's about the size of a phone booth,
Yeah.
but shorter. Comes with a foldable chair. You can fold this thing down like a sun visor for your car.
But
How you can
it's
kind of twist it.
But it's a wet sauna.
It's a wet sauna. Comes with a steamer. Comes with a chair. Comes with a dry mat that you can put, to step on. And then it's all self-enclosed and it's all remote and by app. It costs like $170. It was super cheap.
So that was definitely not the price that I expected you to say.
It's way cheaper.
Yeah, okay.
Super cheap.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
every morning I get up about 4:30. I go sit in that. I force myself to sweat, and it's painful, but it's kind of like you pay your tax for the day.
Yeah.
So you get in, you sweat. It's really painful. You get out, and then I dry off, and then I put a lot of like really good medicated lotion on.
Okay.
And I just keep my skin like super moist. And then in my office and in multiple areas of our house, I have humidifiers to keep the air moist.
Okay.
And that seems to keep the flare-ups to where like I can work out now. Remember, I went to like 4 months I couldn't work out or anything.
Yeah, I do remember that.
So as long as it's a bit of a tedious strategy, but so far it keeps the flare-ups about 90% less. I mean, you saw some of the worst ones I ever had.
Yeah.
So I've got it, but it's much more manageable with just what strategies I have. But hopefully the specialist has something that's a little.
I'm sure that was a surprise.
Yeah.
Another flare up after you thought you had it under control.
Well, what's crazy is when I had that first flare up again this year, at first it was, obviously the emotions were very like, very, woe is me and
Yeah.
depressing kind of thing. And then
Why do I got to do this again?
Exactly. And when I was like, okay, well, I've got more data. I've looked at everything internally,
All right.
but let's look at my external factors. And so, when I looked at the weather, the patterns of weather over the year from when I had it to when I did. And I looked at the temperature, I looked at the humidity, I looked at wind, I looked at everything. And what I found
Right.
was the same week, give or take, that I got it the first time, it was a drastic drop off in humidity. And then it was dry. And then in April of this year, when it stopped, the humidity in San Antonio spiked.
Yeah.
And it was like that kind of through the rest of the spring and summer. And then this year, I got a really bad flare in late October. We had a dry couple of weeks right there. And that's when I had my first spike again. But then we had that, notice it's been kind of rainy. The moistures in the air have been a little bit higher, and it hasn't been as bad.
Right.
So it's interesting that it's kind of pinpointed to it's definitely weather related.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's wild,
So,
man.
Hopefully we have some answers this week.
Yeah.
But
That's what I hope for. So let me know.
appreciate it, man.
Yeah. So,
What's up with you?
oh, same old. We are gathered here today. We're gathered here today to.
That actually is not a bad segue because, you think till death do us part. We don't split up. We don't go different directions or do different things. But today is exactly that.
Yeah. So last time we were on the mics, we teased an episode of musicians or music artists who have their main chick and then venture off into the side chick projects,
Or decide that life is better solo.
or you're right. And here's the deal. Last time we recorded, we were talking about the 90s grunge, and you admittedly made the statement that this is going to be that was going to be a learning experience for you because you didn't know a whole lot. So, my friend, I want to just let you know that the tides have turned. Oh, how the turntables
Have
Oh, how the turntables. Because this is going to be an episode where you're more than likely going to be teaching me a lot more than I will be, given any kind of expertise. Because when I sit down and really just think about it, I know the basic ones. But if I were to look at a list, you just sent a list, a website with about 50 of them, and just going through a couple of those, I just went, oh, that's him? Oh, type thing. So it'll be a lot of bands that I'm sure or musicians that I've heard of, that I know who they are. Even the side project, I'll probably know, oh, yeah, I've heard of them. And then you're going to go, such was the case with Queens of the Stone Age. Yeah, big band. Everybody knows Queen of the Stone Age. It's David Grohl. Oh, I had no idea, type thing. So today, the turntables you're definitely going to be probably teaching me a lot and giving me a lot of those.
Well, I hope
those wow factors.
I hope with some that list that we have, I'm excited. I glanced through. I didn't look at all of it, but even some of those were surprising because there's bands that bands and artists that I knew had maybe a side project,
right?
But then to see number 3 and number 4, or to know another band and go, holy crap, I had no idea.
Right.
Kind of like right there with Matt Cameron, I had no idea that he played for Pearl Jam.
Yeah.
No idea.
The Soundgarden and Temple of Dog, that makes sense because Soundgarden and Temple of Dog are. Temple of Dog, yes, Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. But I had no idea that he moved on to Pearl Jam from Soundgarden.
And it's interesting, too, to think about a lot of these ones that we may have these aha moments is to think like as the bands go on and you see changes, they want to keep the music as authentic and to the style as they can. So they're going to be looking for artists that can play or have similar styles.
Here's one of the questions that I have is how often do you, and I'll use Red Hot Chili Peppers as an example, okay, because you have Dave Navarro who made his mark in Jane's Addiction. But why do you call him over to do an album with you when you're already one of the best bands to walk the face of the earth, and now you're bringing over somebody from a different band who is also well known? Is it something that we're going to bring him over for this album and maybe he stays, or hey, this is the idea I have for this album, but we don't necessarily perfect the sound that we want to master with this album, which is going to be different from any other album. So who do we get to make that sound. And I mean,
Did he fill in for someone that was sick? Or
see, that's a man.
So while you're looking that up, my thought on that is one, when you think from a purely artist standpoint, I think all those things you touched on are definitely valid things. I think you look more in the middle and it'd say, okay, was somebody sick or somebody was unavailable? But then from the music industry standpoint is, maybe these guys have a contract and they're required to produce an album within such a time frame that they're on a time crunch and they need somebody to fill in. Or is it we've seen our record sales, they're good and consistent up to this point. We have nothing that's going to risk, that they're not going to sell or where concerts aren't going to go. Maybe we have, our friend Dave here, and let's see what happens. Let's see how the fans react, and maybe we'll get some of his fans to jump over with us and vice versa, and it's just a mutually beneficial thing. I mean, I think there's a lot of factors that can go into that. Or it could have just been these guys are buddies, and they're like, hey, dude, they talked about it since they were younger. Man, we got to do an album together. And then they finally were like, you know what? It's time. Let's do an album together.
So I don't know if you remember when I told you that he came over and he did that one album. The one album was One Hot Minute. That was in 1995. He did a couple of other songs with them. He did, remember Beavis and Butthead on the soundtrack? They did Love Roller Coaster.
Yep.
So that was Dave Navarro. He did that. Let's see here. He also did the band, and I'm assuming the band Red Hot Chili Peppers with Dave Navarro contributed on the John Lennon song I Found Out. This is a tribute to John album. Let's see here. And then they did a song for the Twister soundtrack. Now, I read somewhere in regards to Dave Navarro's exit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, it was him that left because of the rampant drug use within Red Hot Chili Peppers. But now I'm reading, let's see here, despite mixed reviews, One Hot Minute sold over 8 million copies worldwide and produced 3 hit songs. Navarro toured with Jane's Addiction for their 1997 Relapse tour with Flea on bass.
So there's your crossover right there.
Right, there's a crossover too. Flea coming over to Jane's Addiction to tour with them. I wonder if when he toured with Jane's Addiction, if he played naked at that time. Flea's a weird dude. But anyways, after 2 years of touring on and off with Red Hot Chili Peppers and his subsequent heroin relapse, Navarro was fired in 1998 over creative differences. That's completely different than the first thing that I read about Navarro leaving because of Red Hot Chili Peppers drug use.
Well, creative differences can be anything.
Right.
That's like whenever, you remember in Iron Man when they crashed a bird, and he said, what do y'all call that? Training exercise? And then they're like, just tell them it's training exercise.
I guess it's the same thing as filing for divorce for irreconcilable differences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So creative.
So speaking of drummers and Red Hot Chili Peppers, I know, you know how I am about drumming and stuff. And I feel like it's anybody, whether you're a drummer, drummers or not, or whether you're, maybe even for people that don't realize the passion that drummers can play with and what they bring to a band. There's a Netflix documentary that Katie and I came across the other day.
Okay.
Called Count Me In.
All right.
That's a 2021 Netflix original documentary.
That sounds like a real clever name.
Yeah.
For
drummers.
1, 2. Yeah. 1, 2,
exactly.
3. Okay.
So they do interviews with some of the biggest drummers in history.
Who's the best drummer ever? John Bonham?
John's number 2.
No, he's number 1.
Yeah, John's number 2.
Neil can be number 2 and 3.
Neil's definitely number 1. And so, so it's interesting because they interview a lot of the drummers from these big bands that were like really like influential in rock.
All right.
And they talk about like who motivated them and who is their heroes and stuff.
Right.
And then at the end you have a drum session with Lenny Kravitz's drummer, Santana's daughter. This chick who is like kind of she's a small, like, I guess the focus of the documentary is kind of about her a little bit,
Right.
Then you have what's his name? Chad from Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, Chad.
And then you have the dude from Jane's Addiction.
Okay.
And they all play together, and like a 4-way drum circle is really, really cool.
Jane's Addiction, man. Speaking of them, they're super underrated. What a great band. I think they get like
Stephen Perkins.
they get lost in the, I guess, the 90s
So
behind all the other bigger bands.
one other thing to consider, if you have, like, even if you're not a drummer, Taylor Hawkins is in this documentary.
Oh, good.
He's interviewed for it, and
Yeah,
it shows
yeah.
him playing. Cindy Blackman, Tommy Lee, Ginger Baker, just to name a few. Mick Jagger's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Chad Smith, Sting, Nico McBrain.
Who's that?
He's from brain for Iron Maiden. He's drummer for Iron Maiden.
All right. Chad Smith. That's the doppelganger for
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Yeah.
So let's get into this list. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Let's do it. So I'm going to go ahead and let you lead.
So I mean, I think an easy one to start with, one that we've touched on, and we don't have to go so much deeper into it. Dave Grohl.
Dave Grohl. Yeah.
Drummer for Nirvana, and then next frontman for Foo Fighters, and for a lot of people's surprise, silently, the Queens of the Stone Age drummer.
Right.
And as we just saw here recently, which I've added to my playlist, the magic little nugget you found in Probot.
Oh, Probot. Yeah.
With Lemmy.
Yeah, Lemmy from Motorhead and David Grohl. Had a good little sound to it.
I liked it.
It's definitely a Foo Fighters Motorhead mashup for sure.
That's one you wouldn't think would sound. I don't know. I would question how good that would sound, but I was very surprised.
So when I read that, imagine Lemmy singing like Everlong. I can't do it. I think it would sound horrible. You know what I mean? Like
Everlong.
Yeah, Lemmy was. I mean, he was good.
No, he's so
But
good.
that was Motorhead.
Yeah, you needed that sound.
Motorhead just had that different style.
Dude,
but
so good. Ace of Spades.
Yeah,
that song is so good.
When you're talking about mashups and supergroups and side projects, man, a lot of the lists that I saw were bands that were in that '90s grunge. Mm-hmm. Like all of them.
They were just incestuous.
Oh, yeah, they were. Yeah, they were definitely cheating on their own bands with, their cousins up the road, type thing. But I'm not mad about it because each one of those bands in the '90s grunge area, those we'll just say the four because we don't really. Mudhoney doesn't really count to us because we don't really know who they are. But you got the four who all have their own different sound, and now you can bring them together. Like a Temple of the Dog, like that band that I was playing when you first walked in is called Mad Season. Okay, that's Lane Staley, Alice in Chains. That's Mike McCready. He's the guitarist for Pearl Jam, and then it was the drummer for another big band. Hang on, I texted my brother about it. Screaming Trees. Not really a Screaming Trees fan. Never really got into them, but
Not familiar with the band.
That was kind of a mix-up between those three, and then somebody else I never heard of. But you get a different style of guitar in Mitch McCready to complement a beautiful grungy voice in Lane Staley. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I like it.
I like when, a second ago you said super groups. I think that's an important thing because these super groups together, people talk about crossover music and side project music. I think it's, super groups are easy place to start to get an idea. I was talking to Katie about this the other night because, one of the big things they talked about in that documentary, they talked about Ringo, and Ringo, you're not a Beatles fan, which I'm totally okay with. Ringo,
thanks.
The fact that he was on a stage, it was he kind of played the drums a different way, and he had his own style, and everybody loved him.
Right.
And so Katie asked the question, "Is Ringo still making music?" And I said, "Actually, he's not making music, but you got Ringo and Ringo's All-Star Band."
Right.
And the thing about Ringo's All-Star Band that if people may or may not be familiar with, is it's an ever evolving band. It's like Chicago. There's new people coming in and out all the time. And it's a lot of times it was people that were still relevant, but that Ringo would say, hey, do you want to come on tour, do a couple of shows with us? And it was always like a grab bag of who you were going to have.
Right.
So just to go through a list and just to give people an idea of why supergroups can be a great place to see these crossovers. I'm not going to name everybody here because it's insane how many members have been in Ringo and his all-star band. But just to give you an idea of some of the people that have been in it, Stevie Nicks, Steven Tyler, obviously Ringo, Billy Preston playing piano, Warren Ham, saxophone, Judy Collins, Christopher Cross, Joe Walsh, Billy Squire, John Entwistle, Richard Page, Slash, Dave Edmunds, Peter Frampton, Paul McCartney, Sheila E. played drums.
Okay.
Nils Lofgren, Mark Farner. I'm literally skipping like
Just to
5 to 10 at a time.
the huge mate.
Bruce Springsteen. Randy Bachman, Tim Schmidt. All these
Bachman
people.
Turner Overdrive.
I mean, I'm talking like this is
Yeah.
just to give people an idea. Like these are all members that have been in this band at some point. So to see that massive of a group of people, huge stars,
Yeah.
you can say, okay, well, I may not know a lot of people's side project. Well, this is one right here.
Yeah.
Perfect
That's
example.
that's a perfect example of a supergroup, and that's not to say that every side project is a supergroup because
No.
Queens of the Stone Age definitely not a supergroup.
One hit.
Yeah.
But I like when you mention that because for people that may have never heard some of their favorite artists play with someone else,
Right.
or play a different song. They're not, all these people have their own songs, so they
Right.
could pick a song and say, "Hey, we're going to play Frampton's."
I love that. I love listening to the interpretation of a different band playing somebody else's music.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like hearing John Mayer do "Free Fallin'."
Yep,
It doesn't sound anything like.
but it's way better.
It's
It's the best version.
It is absolutely the best version. It doesn't sound anything like the original Tom Petty version, but it's still super recognizable of what is actually being played, just in a different style. And I love that.
So, I love the when members or like when people do different styles.
Right.
And the first one we touched on this last time.
Wait, time out. When they do different styles, is your favorite Machine Gun Kelly?
When they do different styles, a perfect example of that is
Not Machine Gun Kelly.
a perfect example of that would be Ice-T.
Okay.
So people know Ice-T, who is known by many, but falsely,
for his gangster rap.
to be the first gangster rapper.
Uh-huh.
But Ice-T admits that he got his style from Schoolie P, who was
Okay.
out in Philly.
Yeah.
So he was actually the second gangster rapper.
Okay.
But Ice-T has a heavy metal band that he is the frontman for
I had no idea.
called Body Count.
Makes sense.
See if you can find some songs with Body Count.
Body count. And this is heavy metal.
Mm-hmm.
Body count.
So members are Ice-T, Ernie C, Shawnee Sean, Vincent Price, Ill Will Dorsey, Juan of the Dead, and Little Ice.
Okay, I found some body count circa 1992.
So no, this band, formed in 1990,
Okay.
and just play a little something.
This is called body count.
Ice-T frontmanning a heavy metal band. Let's skip ahead a little bit.
Campaign and I'm living in black rain.
Sounds like him.
Ban the AK, I got 10 of them stashed with a case of hand grenades. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you.
I don't know if I'm a fan of that.
Well, it's just one song.
I know.
But anyway,
I could definitely deep dive into that, but it does sound like Ice-T for sure.
Yeah,
I
thought
mean,
that
you
was
can
kinda-
you can pick that out, but I wouldn't know if I was listening to that on the radio, going, "Oh, that's body count."
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
No, not
I
at
was like, oh man, I didn't know when he rapped he used the guitars and the rock musicals.
Now, one other thing that's, you think about crossover styles.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Vanilla Ice.
Vanilla Ice,
Had
yeah.
his short-lived rock
Right.
career,
Right.
along with Machine Gun Kelly.
Who?
Exactly.
Never heard of her.
Um,
He's the guy that Eminem killed.
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
Murked him, as the kids say.
That's it. But with people sticking to their traditional styles, or people sticking to things that they typically do, a lot of times you'll see people will go from a group to solo,
Right.
and they'll go from maybe like a solo for a small chance, solo to group, a la Eric Clapton.
Okay.
and Cream, right?
Yeah.
And then vice versa when you get things like Sting, who went from the Police
To Sting.
to Sting. I feel like you see a lot more of the "I'm good without y'all," or the agents are pushing for, and "I'm good, you're good without them."
I wonder the mindset of an Eric Clapton when you have had such a great career already and you're widely regarded as one of the best guitarists to ever walk the face of the earth, and you're doing that as a solo artist, and then you have a group come to you like, hey, we're going to form this group and we want you to be the front man for this group. Like what the mindset and the convincing factors are going to be to get somebody to step away from wild success to something that you're not going to even have the promise that it's going to be any good.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes. There's a lot of like hidden factors with that. Is Clapton's agent like saying, "Hey, we've done good on the solo thing, and it's the age right now of is more group than solo. It's
Right.
like think about like reverse of that. Look at the boy groups. NSYNC, Backstreet Boys.
Right.
You see JT had
Blew
a
up.
much bigger,
Right.
bigger career solo. But if you look at the body of music, or I should say at the eco of music at that time, we were getting away from groups. You started to see a lot
Right.
more of like, Britney and Christina were doing really, really well. Backstreet and NSYNC were doing really, really well. But it showed that like Christina and Britney don't need a band.
Right.
And these groups, can you break a lead singer away and still have a successful career? And JT was a perfect example of getting away and being wildly successful.
But in that boy band era, I think Justin Timberlake was an anomaly because let's look at the careers of the rest of the guys who tried to go solo.
From those groups, yeah.
I mean, from any boy band, 98
I would-
Degrees.
I would say
LFO.
I would say 98 Degrees had one. Nick Lachey had a really good solo career.
Did he?
He had a really good solo. It wasn't as good as JT,
But
but
you're
it's-
right.
But JT he was a whole package. He could dance, he could sing, he could act. He was funny. Like you get him on SNL. Him and Andy Samberg are best friends.
Yeah.
So he had a little bit more in his tool belt, I would say, to offer. But as far as like a pure singing, like Nick Lachey had a pretty good solo career. It wasn't very long, but he definitely had some hits.
Yeah. So rank your boy bands.
From least to best,
Yeah. Let's do that.
O-Town, 98 Degrees, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys.
Oh, you're a Backstreet Boys guy.
Oh, for sure.
I was in sync. Dirty Pop. Pop.
That was a good one. On the R&B side, gotta have massive love for Jodeci.
So this is where you're gonna school me because I wasn't a big R&B guy. Loved Keith Sweat back in the '90s. Loved Casey and JoJo. And there was another one that I'm blanking on right now. But not a R. Kelly. I mean, even after his recent troubles and struggles with him being a horrible human being.
Yep.
TP2.com is still one of my favorite albums to listen to.
I liked all the MTV. They kept adding the In the Closet. How they were like 90 or 100, like the longest song ever written, and it was just part by part.
Yeah.
But like for instance, like Jodeci.
Okay.
So you liked Casey and JoJo,
Yeah,
right?
I did.
Okay, so Jodeci is a quartet, And the members of the quartet were Devontae Swing, Mr. Dalvin, Casey, and JoJo. So the name Jodeci was
Okay.
a conglomeration of their names.
Was that? Oh, is it? Okay, so Casey and JoJo were Casey and JoJo before there was Jodeci?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then trying to think who else. So yeah, so Jodeci was a group. It was kind of like an R&B super group.
There was
so to
also
say.
another super group that was, I think, a group first before they all disbanded. But it was, dude, I just lost it. I had the name of it, but I think Drew Hill. Wasn't Drew Hill?
Drew Hill was Siska.
Yeah.
Yeah, he broke loose from Drew Hill.
Dong 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 dong.
Oh, I think another good one is the Isley Brothers.
Yeah, I like
So
Isley Brothers.
Isley Brothers are great, and then was it Ronald Isley? That was
Ron Isley, yeah.
Ron Isley was the one that he did those stuff with R. Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
Another good one, Jackson 5,
Yeah.
down to Michael, and then even Tito, and they had their side projects. I'm looking at some of these best super R&B super groups. Lucy Pearl formed during the neo soul movement.
I love neo soul.
Best known, they had a member from Tribe Called Quest. Don Robinson was a member of In Vogue, and then Raphael Sadiq is a member of Tony. So they formed a group. TGT was Tyrese, Genuine, and Tank.
Genuine and Tank were real good.
So you had TGT, they were good. Shalimar, so Shalimar, Katie and I were joking about Shalimar. So do you remember Dave Chappelle's show when they were doing the Rick James True Hollywood Stories or whatever?
Yeah.
And he was talking about Charlie Murphy was talking about everybody was androgynous. He said the dude that looked like a bitch was getting the most women. And he said everybody in the club be like, "Oh, Shalimar got that new fine ass for the front," and they're like, "That was Nikki Free, man. That's a dude. That's a man." So yeah, apparently they were a super group back in the '80s. I'm not familiar with any of their people. LSG, Gerald Levert, Keith Sweat, and Johnny Gill.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that. Let me see. So that's 4 artists. Got to be more than that.
One group that was back in the 90s that put out a very good group album, and then at least 2 of them had pretty solid solo careers, was the Fugees.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Lauryn Hill, Wyclef, and who was it, Praz?
Yep.
I don't think Praz did much as a solo artist,
But Wyclef.
but
was
Wyclef and Lauryn Hill definitely
massive.
had great careers away from the group.
I never thought that's a really good one.
You want to know a cool story? I don't know if you've ever heard of or seen Dave Chappelle's Block Party.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
So for those that haven't, Dave Chappelle throws a Block Party concert, and he brings in.
Wu-Tang.
Nah, it wasn't Wu-Tang. It was all the neo soul rappers, and it was Jill Scott and Erica Badu.
I thought he had some R&B or some hip hop people.
No, he
too.
did, but it was Common and Dead Prez.
Oh, I thought
and
Wu-Tang was part of it.
Kanye West was there.
Yeah.
And the story goes that he wanted Lauryn Hill to headline the event, and she agreed to headline the event, but circumstances around a contract with her record label would not allow her to come and headline this act. And so Dave Chappelle, being the genius he is, found a loophole and brought the Fugees.
Smart.
Genius.
The Roots.
Yeah, the Roots crew. Yeah, it's all those neo soul rappers and
Questlove, Keisha Cole, Lil Cease, Big Daddy Kane, Jill Scott, Lauryn Hill, Common, Kanye, Erica
Badu.
Mos Def. Did you see Dave host Saturday Night Live the other week?
Nah, I didn't do it, but I want to watch it.
You need to go back and watch it because guess who was the musical artist?
Who?
Black Star.
Oh, really?
He had Black Star.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And they did some funny skits. They did a skit where he brought every one of his big characters into this skit at once. Rick James was in it.
I love it.
Oh my God, Rick James was Tyrone Biggums was in it. Like all these, all of his big characters were in this one skit. But yeah, so
Who else had side projects that
Eminem,
maybe we'd? Oh yeah, D12.
D12,
Yeah. Okay. Who else?
Creed. We talk a lot about them. So Creed, instead of thinking like an artist and focusing on the artist that goes somewhere. So Creed had, when Scott Stapp left, they got a new singer to come in. They called the band Alter Bridge.
Yeah.
Now, Alter Bridge has an almost identical sound
Yeah. They
to
really
Creed.
do.
Mark Tremonti has a very unique style of play that is like, you could pick him out just like you can pick out Santana or Jimmy or Dwayne Allman. You can pick him out from 100 artists.
Uh-huh.
So what I found earlier on this list was after Alter Bridge, Tremonti went on and had a band called Tremonti.
Just Tremonti.
Just Tremonti.
Yeah, named after himself.
Yeah.
That's good.
So
It's original.
if you're not if you're not familiar with Alter Bridge, imagine Creed without the hello.
Yeah.
They're really good.
Scott Stapp sucked.
He was on one.
Yeah.
Had NSYNC. We talked about NSYNC and JT. Let's pull up that list. That was that really interesting list.
I'll give you a good one that maybe you might not even know.
Tell me.
Are you familiar with the band Megadeth?
Yes.
Do you know who started Megadeth?
No.
It was Dave Mustaine,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know he started it.
formerly of Metallica.
Mm-hmm.
And once he got kicked out of the band, he went and started Megadeth.
So I think this is that list we talked about. This is top 53 rockers who have been successful in multiple bands. People we've talked about already: Dave Grohl, Probot, and Them Crooked Vultures.
Yeah.
I have to look at Them Crooked Vultures. Nikki Sixx,
Yeah.
Slash, many big bands. Guns N' Roses, Velvet Revolver, Slash, Miles Kennedy.
Can we just talk about Velvet Revolver and how good they were?
Yeah.
Because that was Scott Weiland, too. So
Chris Cornell,
talk about a...
your favorite.
was he in there?
No, he's Soundgarden, Temple Dog.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you have moved on.
Oh, yeah. We can talk about Velvet Revolver. I
Velvet Revolver
thought
was
you wanted to comment on
so
it.
underrated. Yeah, no, I mean, just talk about a super group.
Well, Scott Weiland's like next on the list.
Yeah, Scott Weiland, he was so good. I wish he was still alive. Scott Weiland and the Wildabouts.
Corey Taylor
Yeah, we've talked about him
has a
before.
second
with
band, Stone Sour. Yeah.
where he actually sings.
He's got such a good voice.
He's got a great voice.
Not familiar with, yeah. Miles Kennedy, here you go. So Alter Bridge, and then Slash featuring Miles Kennedy. So Miles Kennedy with the group that Scott Stapp left.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that went on to join Slash. Sammy Hagar.
Sammy Van Hagar.
Yeah, Van Hagar.
Oh, okay, cool.
Chicken Foot in the Circle. I haven't heard of those.
Here's one that I had no idea, but I know exactly who they are. Is Maynard
Yeah.
for Tool, and then he went on to A Perfect Circle. I had no idea.
How about the name of that last band right
I'm
there?
not saying that.
Let's see. Of course, Scott Ian. Didn't know he was in another band, but love Scott Ian.
There's Clapton, the Yardbirds, Cream, Derek
Yep.
and the Dominoes.
Brad Wilk,
Yeah.
drummer for Rage, Audio Slave, and Prophets of Rage. Prophets of Rage.
Too political for me.
Was it just a couple of the guys from Rage Against the Machine?
It was Rage Against the Machine. It was Tom Morello for sure. I don't remember if it was if Zach De La Rosa went with them or De La Rocha went with them, but it was definitely Be Real. And then there was another big name in there as well. But I mean, if you're into political rock, then they're definitely for you. But that seems to be the motive of Tom Morello these days. It's just let me spew my political rhetoric anywhere I can, and that's just that's one reason I don't care for the man. Like,
I think we talked about this band. I'm trying to pull it up because I think it's a super group of sorts.
I've got a real weird one pulled up right now with Gary Holt, who played guitar for Slayer, but then went a completely different direction and played in the band Exodus. No. Am I thinking Genesis?
Yeah, you're thinking Genesis.
Yeah, I'm wrong. Okay, scratch that.
Derek and the Dominoes.
Okay, yeah,
It's a Clapton band.
it's a Clapton band.
So Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs was one thing with what they put out. So Derek and the Dominoes, American English blues rock band formed in the 70s. Formed in 1970, Eric Clapton, Bobby Whitlock, Carl Radle, and Jim Gordon. 4 members previously played together in Delaney and Bonnie and Friends during and after Clapton's brief tenure with Blind Faith. Another participant at the first session as a band was George Harrison. So you did have a bit of a little super group here
Yeah,
with Clapton. That it sounded like they're just releasing old Clapton songs, but
I hate to circle back, but in regards to Velvet Revolver, it looks like Velvet Revolver was kind of the same premise as Audio Slave, where it was Rage Against the Machine with Chris Cornell. Velvet Revolver was Guns N' Roses minus Axl with Scott Weiland. Did you know that?
I knew that they had a Guns N' Roses because the revolver and guns.
Right, and so I'm looking at this list right here, and I knew that back in the day when Velvet Revolver first, got together. I knew that that's what it was, but I had forgotten, and this just reminded me of that.
This just came up. We talked about Joan Jett, I think, on our women's episode, and she had a band, The Runaways,
Okay,
and then Joan Jett and the Blackhearts. I haven't heard of Runaways.
I haven't either.
Chad Gray. I can't remember if you like Mudvayne.
That's not really a genre I'm into.
Yeah, so I love Mudvayne,
Okay.
but then he was in another band called Hell Yeah.
Yeah,
Heard of that
my brother liked Hell Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
Geezer Butler, Black Sabbath, Ozzy, and then Deadland Ritual.
Damon Albarn, Blur, and the Gorillaz.
Yeah.
The Gorillaz are so good.
Yeah.
I've got a buddy named Greg. I've talked to you about Greg before, and he loves the Gorillas.
Jack White, White Stripes, Raconteurs, and Dead Weather.
I feel like a lot of the alternative music once the White Stripes hit the scene.
Yep.
I think alternative music wasn't. Okay, let me start all over. I think Jack White had his hand in all the alternative music after the White Stripes. You know what I mean? Like if there was a band playing anything, that's who you called. You know, if you needed a lyric for this or a rhyme for that or whatever, hey, call Jack.
Okay.
I feel like his name is all over that style of music in that time period after the White Stripes. You know, White Stripes was just him and his sister.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool.
Josh Homme,
Uh-huh.
Queens of the Stone Age, Eagles of Death Metal, and Them Crooked Vultures.
Them Crooked Vultures.
Now, Them Crooked Vultures, I went and looked them up. Dave Grohl, John Paul Jones, and Josh Homme.
Okay.
So that other band that we mentioned with Dave Grohl, one of the other guys was one of the guys from Queen of the Stone Age. So
Okay.
they did Queen of the Stone Age, and then those two went on to do another side project with John Paul Jones on piano. And John Paul Jones was with Led freaking Zeppelin.
The Yardbirds. Wait, say that one more time.
So John Paul Jones
Yeah, John Paul Jones was
was a pianist for Led Zeppelin.
yes.
He, Dave Grohl, and Josh Homme from Queen of the Stone Age were Them Crooked Vultures.
Okay. Speaking of the Yardbirds, that was Eric Clapton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Guess who else was in there?
Who's that?
Jimmy Page.
Of course. We got Lane Staley, Alice in Chains and Mad Season, Vinnie Paul, Pantera, and Hell Yeah.
You know who's a super underrated band? Pantera.
I love Pantera.
Man, I love Pantera. Dimebag
Dimebag Darrell, rest in
is
peace.
one of the greatest ever.
I love Pantera.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Ozzy, Black Sabbath and Ozzy.
Yeah.
Jimmy Page, Yardbirds and Zepp. Vivian Campbell, Dio and Def Leppard. Not familiar with Dio.
Philip Anselmo.
God, Phil Anselmo is a...
Yeah, he was good. But he's got Pantera, a band called Down, a band called Superjoint, a band called Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals. So he had his hand on a bunch of things.
So here's something interesting you mentioned a second ago, and I'm glad you did because it's on this list also. Dave Mustaine, Metallica, and Megadeth. which I believe is the only person to play in 2 of the 4 original 4, big 4.
Yeah.
I believe so. Phil Anselmo. And
Mark Hoppus and Travis Barker did Blink-182, Plus 44,
Simple Creatures.
and Simple Creatures. But then the other one, who was the other one? DeLonge.
Mm-hmm,
Tom DeLonge. He went a different route and did Angels and Airwaves, but he's not on this list. I was just looking for him.
Interesting.
Angels and Airwaves is they're not Blink-182, but they do have a
Touch
lot
on
of
it.
similarities. So if you do like Blink-182, you'll like Angels
Angels
and
and
Airwaves.
Airwaves. Tom Comerford.
I don't know who that is.
Rage. Audio Slave. Prophets of Rage.
Oh, I just saw that.
Bass player.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Travis Barker.
Boxcar Racers, Transplant.
Billy Joe Armstrong. Did not know Longshot. Have you heard of the Longshot?
I never heard of them.
Neither have I.
Were you a big
Green Day?
Green Day fan?
Early Green Day. Once they got super political in like the early 2000s, the My Shadow's Only One, that song was just way too political for me, but I do like Dookie. That album.
Yeah, Dookie was a good album.
That's my childhood.
Yeah, that I got a funny story about Dookie. I don't remember what grade I was in. I may have been in 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of those two. I was living in Stephenville at the time. And my dad had told me before Christmas, he's like, what do you want for Christmas? I said, what I really want is a boombox. I want a CD player and some CDs. And my dad said, okay, that's going to be your big gift. I'll get you a big boombox and I'll get you a CD to start you out and do it. And he asked me, give me a list of albums that you would like. And I told him, I really don't want to give you a list. I just want Green Day Dookie.
Mm-hmm.
He said, okay. So come Christmas Day, open up the boombox, and there's the boombox, happy and all excited. And then he hands me a gift, and it's wrapped up, and I know it's a CD, and I'm 100% confident that it is Green Day Dookie.
What was it?
My brother opened his CD first, and it was Green Day Dookie. And I went, there's no way that he got me Green Day Dookie and Josh Green Day Dookie. If he did, I'm going to be kind of upset, So I opened mine up, and it was Led Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor. So I was even happier because that started the love affair of Led Zeppelin for me, and being able to enjoy Led Zeppelin throughout the next 30, 20-some, 30 years with the old man. Mm-hmm. So that was good.
I'll tell you, the first CD I ever touched as like actually put into a music player to play music on, it was in elementary school. I remember playing that CD and also playing my my black and white Game Boy on playing Zelda.
The big gray one?
The big gray one, which I still have.
Do you really?
Yes, and it still works. Was Dookie.
Dookie.
Yep. I played that with my Game Boy.
It was the Do You Have the Time? That's what I liked.
Listen to me. Oh, yeah.
That's what I
I
liked.
used to try to practice playing drums to that song. It was
yeah.
very challenging.
If you really want to start drumming and you need something basic to mimic, you just go for the Beatles. A basic band.
So
they suck.
This is interesting. This is musicians fans want most back in their old bands.
Okay. I just saw that.
John Frusciante from Red Hot Chili Peppers. Joey Jordison, the drummer from Slipknot.
Okay.
Billy Ward, going back to Black Sabbath. Steven Adler and Izzy Stradlin, going back to GNR.
I don't need any of these bands back.
Yeah,
to
I hear
be
you.
completely honest with you.
David Silveria, going back to Korn.
Okay, I can do them.
Peter Criss and Ace Frehley, going back to Kiss. Sebastian Bach, going back to Skid Row.
He's annoying. He's super annoying.
I agree. Because that show, remember that show that he did on VH1, I think it was?
Yeah, he's annoying. And he's ugly.
Yeah, he's a funky looking dude. Marty Friedman, going back to Megadeth.
I think Megadeth had like one good song.
He,
Like literally one good song. And I don't even know what it's called anymore. It's the one that nobody can ever get the words correct to. I'll play it. I'll play it right now as soon as it pulls up.
Symphony of Destruction?
That's the one.
Megadeth was definitely my least favorite of the original four, the big four.
Yeah.
I would say my number one would be.
You remember this song?
Oh yeah. I would say fourth would be Megadeth, 3 would be Anthrax, 2 would be Slayer, and 1 would be Metallica.
My one would just be Metallica because I wasn't into the other ones.
Do you ever listen to the other ones?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't like Raining Blood?
I never got into the other three.
Play Raining Blood for a sec. I just love this. I'd say the thing I love is that even though they were the 4 originals of this style of music, the fact that they all sounded so different. Like you play Raining Blood and like fast forward just a little bit. Right there. But out of the 4 of these bands, like none of them sounded like this.
I hear Metallica in that.
Wait for it. Metallica never had rolling drums like that.
I mean, that's true, but Lars Ulrich was still better.
I agree, but I'm saying this song is great though. Dun 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 dun.
Trivia question for you.
Okay.
Slayer's Bodyguard. I'm out on Slayer. Slayer's Bodyguard. Think motorcycles.
The Hells Angels?
No. West Coast Choppers, Jesse James.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think it was a episode of West Coast Customs that made mention to that one time when I went, yo, this dude.
You ain't got to be big if you got a big gun.
Listen, man. Yeah. I'm a fan of Jesse James, though. I like him.
So, some ones that we haven't talked about.
Okay.
That we should. One, we'll have to dive deep into this because neither one of us are huge fans. But the Eagles, they went from like rock to country.
I did enjoy Joe Walsh solo, though.
I could see that. Yeah, Joe Walsh wasn't bad. Darius Rucker.
Yeah.
Can't believe we haven't touched on him yet.
Yeah. I was a big Hootie and the Blowfish fan in 8th grade.
Me too, man. A lot of people think that Darius was Hootie. Darius was actually the Blowfish.
Oh, was he?
Hootie was the band. But yeah, Darius Rucker, for sure. I'm trying to think of artists that jump styles. I despise her music. Katie and I get at each other's throats about this, but Taylor Swift, country to pop.
Yeah.
I also think she's one of the reasons why country is ruined is because she and Florida Georgia Line made it okay to be on both sides of the album of the charts.
So what you're saying is you are not a Swiftie.
No,
But
the fact that here's the thing. The fact that I dislike her as much as her music as much as I do, and the fact that she's the first artist in history to hold all 10 spots in the top 10 at the same time infuriates me because now Katie has fuel as to see Taylor's good. No, she's not. She's popular. Popular and good are two different things.
Right.
In the 80s, AIDS was very popular. Not very good. Okay? Just saying.
Oh,
it's
man.
the truth, right?
That is kind of hilarious.
It's the truth, though, right?
Yeah.
So the fact that I think it's interesting that that Taylor has all 10 spots. It just means that every song on that album has a spot essentially.
Listen, man. So my buddy Steven and I, we did an episode not too long ago, and we talked about Taylor Swift because she had made that comment about I'll stop singing about my exes and all that when my haters stop coming for me.
Your haters aren't coming for you; they're just making mention that you're not that good.
They just want you to stop. And Steven made a funny comment, but it made a lot of sense. Taylor Swift dates to break up
Yeah, I can see that.
so that she can write her music and
I think it's perfect.
yeah, I mean it's a genius business plan.
Mm-hmm.
Let me start dating John Mayer because I know
Eventually,
his reputation of being scared of commitment. He even says it himself in a lot of his songs. That he's terrified of commitment and he's not gonna like.
how old is Taylor Swift?
Well, I don't know, but they dated when John was in his 30s and she was like 19.
Let me see.
But let me start dating John Mayer, even though I know it's not going to go well.
She's 32. She's too old for Leo. That'd been terrible.
But I'm gonna date him so I can break up and now write songs at him.
Yeah,
To get my
at
popularity.
him. Yeah,
yeah.
I like how you worded that.
So, I mean, I think she's a clown, if I'm being completely honest. But that's neither here nor there, I guess.
Let's see. Beyonce.
Not a fan.
I mean, I'm not a fan, but she.
I was more a fan of Kelly Rowland in Destiny's Child.
Oh my gosh! I just thought of I was. I thought of a something that kind of follows Darius, and I just got a list of people I think is really interesting.
Okay.
So this list was artists who have switched genres mid-career.
Okay.
And so we can go through this list. It's not terribly
That
long.
dude from Stained was one.
Taylor Swift, country to pop.
Yeah.
Kate Nash, pop to punk.
Okay.
Kate Nash, for those that, or that's Kate Bush. I'm sorry, never mind. Snoop Dogg, rap to reggae to rap.
Oh my gosh.
Snoop Dogg to Snoop Lion.
Yeah. Pause. Did you ever listen to Snoop Lion?
Yeah.
Oh my God. That horrible.
He had one good song.
I don't even think he had
I'm
one
not-
good song.
you're gonna play it right now.
No, I'm not gonna play it.
No, let's trust me because it's not Snoop by himself. It's an artist that you and I both like.
If it's Bob Marley.
Nope. It's Snoop. Look this up. Snoop Lion and Eddie Murphy.
I'm not playing that.
Just trust me, please.
Oh my gosh. Trash.
Just trust me, please.
The
Give me,
trash
give, me,
I-
give me a little bit of credit here.
The trash that I put on here for you.
Oh, come on.
What is?
What are the names of the songs?
I don't know.
Give me,
That he has one with Miley Cyrus.
find Eddie Murphy
Oh my
and Snoop
gosh.
Lion.
This is so dumb. I need you to look up the name of that song because nothing is pulling up with Eddie Murphy. I don't even think Eddie Murphy was funny. If I'm being completely honest.
It's called Red Light.
Coming up with these hot takes. It's called what?
I'll just play it right here.
Okay, that's fine.
Because Eddie's got a really good singing voice.
That's him.
That's background. So that's the song. Very good song.
Yeah.
Okay, Bob Dylan, folk to rock. I mean,
Yeah.
Miley Cyrus, country to pop. Katy Perry, Christian to pop. You remember when she was all Christian albums?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
She went from Christian to hoe.
Yep. She kissed a girl and she liked it.
Yeah, I guess so.
The Go-Go's went from punk to pop. Lady Gaga, Broadway to pop to jazz.
Oh, that's wild.
Singing with Tony Bennett.
Do you like Lady Gaga?
Yes.
She's
do.
not somebody that I actively listen to, but I can admit that she is wildly talented.
Yes. Very well.
I did enjoy her Super Bowl halftime show.
Oh, yeah. It was really good. Tina Shea. A lot of people aren't familiar with Tina Shea. She was a pop girl group called the Stunners and now sings R&B. She actually sang at UTSA, had a very big season kickoff one of the years I was coaching, and she was the artist that came.
Okay.
Fergie.
Yeah.
She was in Wild Orchid pop group and then went to hip hop.
And yeah. Do you remember when she sang the national anthem and then they remixed it? Mm-hmm. That was funny.
Gwen Stefani
Oh,
went from ska to pop.
yeah, she did.
Pink, R&B to pop.
Pink, they considered her R&B.
R&B girl group Choice,
Okay.
and then went to pop.
Okay.
Waka Flocka Flame, hip hop to EDM.
Oh, he's doing that house stuff now? Mm-hmm. That's weird.
Wheezy F Baby,
I don't
Please
know.
Say the Baby. Rap, rock, rap.
Who is the artist?
Lil Wayne,
Oh,
Wheezy F Baby. Beastie Boys, punk to rap.
Punk to rap.
Darius Rucker, Kid Rock, went from rock to country. Nelly Furtado.
When the Beastie Boys made their transition from punk to hip hop, it was Russell Simmons who decided this for them, and they wanted to kick their drummer out, who was an original member of the Beastie Boys when they were doing punk. And Russell Simmons says, "You got to go home. You got to get rid of her." And then she went on to be a famous drummer for Luscious Jackson. So it all worked out for her once they let her go. They did not want to let her go, but Russell Simmons says this is going to go nowhere with her, so go get rid of her.
And he was accurate.
And they did.
Skrillex, remember, was the lead singer from First to Last,
I don't remember that.
and then switched to
EDM or whatever they call it.
EDM.
What else?
The Bee Gees
My mom loved.
went.
The Bee Gees.
They were psychedelic and folk rock to disco.
Yeah, disco. My mom loved disco music. That's
Mi-
weird.
Listen to this. Michael Bolton
Nah.
was a hard rocker
No, he was
that
not.
once opened for Ozzy and Crocus. Swear to God.
That's funny.
The Byrds, Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
They
I can't remember the name of their band, but I know you haven't watched that documentary I told you about, Sound City.
yeah, 'cause I'm not a fan of her. Iggy Pop
Okay.
was punk long before he was a shirtless godfather of punk. James Osterberg was a fully clothed drummer, performed for a blues band named the Prime Movers. Then he played Chicago blues joints, and then switched. Katy Perry we talked about. Beastie Boys talked about. Gwen Stefani. We talked about the Go-Go's. They were in the LA punk scene, and then they did wave-inspired feel-good pop tunes. Kenny Rogers, long hair, pink sunglasses, and earrings. In the 60s, Kenny was known as Kenny the Hippie. Having already dipped into jazz and rockabilly, his rock band First Edition scored a pop psychedelic hit in 67 with Just Dropped In.
I would like for you to start referring to me as Adam the Hippie.
Such an
Please.
abnormally long name.
The Hippie Adam. How about that?
So yeah, there's
okay.
quite a few people that Paramore changed their style also. Vic Mensa,
He's a clown.
Fall Out Boy changed their style.
They suck.
Completely heartless. So yeah, that's all I can think of right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And googling the internets and reliving some of these, but there's quite a lot.
I learned a lot today. Like,
I honestly did too.
I feel like if you're going to be in a rock band, you need to be ready to cross over to different projects because the one's just not going to be enough for you. You think they get bored?
Yeah.
You know, picture this. You know, Travis Barker drumming for Blink 182. You think he gets bored and that's why he's got to go do this other side project?
I think he gets bored, and that's why he's dating a Kardashian.
Oh my gosh, that would be boring to me. Like in and of
I
itself.
ordered this chicken salad, and I waited for you, Kim.
That's how he talks now?
Why did you wait? The sisters, I
Oh,
talk to each
yeah.
other.
Are they high all the
They
time?
talk to each other like they've got 3 brain cells that are just like trying to like mash words together.
Combined?
And it's taking
between the 3 of them?
It's taking the brain cells a few minutes to gather words and put them in a. Like I imagine like a factory in their heads.
Who's your favorite Kardashian?
Caitlyn Jenner.
Okay, well, my favorite one is the dead one.
That's
Is that wrong?
I like the one that Ray J beat down with his wiener.
Oh,
Can we put that in the podcast?
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it, but
Okay.
tone it down some.
She got famous for.
But I'm the bad guy for being a fan of the one I don't have to deal with.
Well, Ray J dealt with her. Go watch that video.
Stop it. I told you about he blamed Chris for that, right?
Oh,
Like,
we talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
she was trying to say like
she
blah
was-
blah blah, and he's like, I got the text where you're telling me you're going like you're like, oh, this angle looks better. We're gonna release this.
Right.
She was one that orchestrated
the
the whole
pimp.
movie
Yeah.
being released.
Oh my gosh, I wish they would go away forever.
Yeah, dude, trust me.
Like forever.
They as long as people are talking about them, they will be around.
Like I wished that for Paris Hilton, and it happened.
Paris Hilton, she had a genre change. She went from a whore to a DJ.
What? No.
She did.
Can I get a?
She had an album.
She has an album now.
Yeah, she
Like
like forever ago.
so she's like Girl Talk. It's like that kind of album or what?
No,
like that kind of DJ.
She had a song that was
She
actually
went from
like,
whore to DJ. Oh
she had a song that actually was like on the radio. You don't remember that?
no,
Yeah.
I just remember she had a movie too.
One Night in Paris.
Yeah,
That's all you need.
duh, that's all you'll. Blech.
Let me see this. Paris Hilton. Uh,
I can't imagine.
yeah, here you go. Yeah, this song right here was like on the radio, dude. It's just such a popular song. Stars Are Blind. You don't remember that?
No, I listen, dude.
Trust me, I didn't listen to it. It was just on the radio.
Listen, dude, and you know this. I listen to good music. No, turn that off. That's trash. I'm fixing to mute your mic.
The song is called Stars Are Blind.
let me tell you.
You know what else it's called? You Can't Sing.
Let me tell you a story that sums up the trash-iness of the youth's musical tastes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm at work. One of these little girls asked me if I liked hip hop, and I said I love hip hop. And she goes, "Who's your favorite rapper?" I said, "My favorite hip hop artist
Method Man.
is Method Man."
Who looks yoked, by the way. I don't know if you've seen pictures of him
Dude, he's
recently.
been working out
He
like
looks
a dog.
yoked.
Anyway,
he
there's-
deadlifted 500 pounds on video the other day.
There was two other young females standing there listening to this conversation, and they went, "Who is that?" And I was like, "I shouldn't even have this conversation with you, but have you ever heard of Wu-Tang?" And they're like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "There you go. He was in Wu-Tang. He's the best rapper alive." And the girl goes, "No, he's not." And I was like,
Please don't tell me you took the leap and asked her who she thinks is the best rapper.
"I made that mistake, man.
Oh, God.
I give you."
I'm going to get hurt. This is going to
Yeah,
hurt.
it's gonna hurt. I said, "Who is your favorite? Who do you believe is the best rapper? Because who you're about to tell me is not a hip hop artist." What's the difference? I said, "I'm not going into it. Who's your favorite rapper?" Roddy Ricch. I picked up my things and I walked away. So,
In the words of Bernie Mac, what's wrong with the kids these days?
oh man,
You know, I will say, on one positive thing about Roddy Ricch, I have a young man.
no, tell your story, but
Well, I have a young man that I treated for an injury a couple of months ago, who is I caution to say he's a producer because he does not consider himself a producer. He makes beats,
that's a
and
producer.
then he makes beats, and then he'll sell them to the artists and stuff. He has worked very closely with Roddy Ricch and has actually made beats for a lot of his songs.
Oh really?
And I've listened to some of his music, and surprisingly, I don't like. I'm not a huge fan of Roddy's rapping style, but I do like the beats that this kid made.
Yeah.
They were really and I was like, I asked myself, who's your favorite artist to work with? Who do you work with most? And he said Roddy Ricch. And I was like, well, how's that work? And he's like, well, I'll come up with a beat and then I'll text Roddy. And I'm like, so you and Roddy Ricch text like on a regular basis? He's like, oh yeah, man, we talk all the time. It was really cool. It's like young 20-something kid that just makes beats in his house in Shirts, Texas.
I will say this: the rappers today are. Am I playing footsies with you?
A little bit.
Okay, cool. I'm into it. The rappers today do have some pretty dope beats, but then they open their mouths and they ruin it, and I don't.
Well, it's interesting. There's if you've never watched the docu-series on Netflix, well, it used to be on Netflix, Evolution of Hip Hop.
Yeah.
They talked a lot about how music has evolved over the decades and how the initial early hip hop was very music heavy, not really lyric heavy. And then it started to evolve more towards like lyrics were the most important. The
We've
beats
come
really
full
slowed
circle.
down. We have.
Yeah.
Because your and I's favorite style of hip hop is the lyrically dense, clever,
Yeah.
the
Wordplay.
double. Yeah, I sent you that video the other day where this guy had a double entendre and a triple entendre in 2 bars, right?
Yeah.
Extremely clever when it comes to what they're saying. But then it started to, I know we give these kids a hard time, and I hate to say devolve, but I would say it evolved. It's evolved back to where the music was heavy. Music is a heavier piece than the words, and I'm eager then to see this next wave of lyrics, because you see a touch of it with some of your artists now. We got people we've talked about, and then you see now TikTok has really like opened up a lot of easy access to people that are a little bit more lyrically dense.
Yeah.
There's an artist that I love. I don't know if you've heard any of his stuff. I want you to play just the beginning of this song. Just to show how clever this guy is. Let me see. I think his name is Connor Price, which sounds exactly like a rap artist, right? Let me see if yes. So play. Let me see what songs are there. Start Violet. Let me see if I think that's it. No, not that. That one's good. Play the first one. Yes. Just listen to the lyrics. Turn it up just a bit if you can.
100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, they said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning.
Just give it a second.
If you know, I've been on a what? Mission. Go. Okay, let's get it. Got a little time on my hands like a wristwatch. I don't got time for the breaks and the pit stop. Race through the gridlock, take it like Chris Rock. Right to the chin, still winning.
At least he's not mumbling.
Got the driving, I got tunnel vision. I just hit my stride the way I run the business.
probably
I've been
give that a
making
chance.
paper like I'm Dunder Mifflin. See the end game, I got one division. Look, I don't ever bother with a critic. Hit him with a chronicle of Riddick. Boom, bottle full of Ritalin.
He's all right. I listen to him.
Picking up the paper like Dunder Mifflin. Can't see like Chronicles of Riddick.
Yeah.
Looking to the future like in the end game like WandaVision. I mean, it's just real clever.
We're fans of wordplay.
Yes.
Let's just call it what it is.
Yes.
I mean, that's what it is. A good beat and clever wordplay. That's why Eminem is who Eminem is, except he has goofy Dr. Dre beats. So his wordplay makes up for those goofy beats.
Could you imagine M? I mean, well, here's the thing. M nowadays is not on as bad of beats, but it almost doesn't sound like hearing him on some of these newer beats.
Can you imagine? Okay, imagine this. Okay, so you and I don't know if you necessarily agree with me that the greatest rap song ever written is Nas Represent. That's what I think. I just think it's the perfect flow, the perfect words, the perfect lyrics, the perfect beat. Now imagine Eminem on a sick beat like this. Dr. Dre could never come up with anything like this. You know what I mean? You can listen to a rap song and you can definitely pick out that's definitely West Coast. And I'm speaking not in regards to this, but you can definitely pick out a Dre beat because it's just goofy. You know what I mean? But imagine Eminem on a beat like this, or on a beat like New York State of Mind, or What was the other one that I listened to the other day? It was called Pricey, I think. But whatever. I would have a hard time not calling Eminem the GOAT if he was on Real Beats. You know what I mean?
I can see that.
That's just me.
Yeah, I can see it.
Anyways, we're at an hour and 15 minutes.
It's a good episode.
Yeah, it was a real good episode, and we definitely did not have to stretch and reach into left field to just get content time, which I'm happy about. I thought we were, if I'm going to be completely honest, only because you were going to be the one coming in with all the knowledge, not me, to where I thought I wasn't going to contribute much. But I think it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. I'm glad you came up with that idea. And I'm glad we executed it to the fullest.
I appreciate it.
But I appreciate you coming over, man.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Y'all like, subscribe, share. Go check out all these side projects.
Happy belated Thanksgiving. Hope your Thanksgivings were wonderful.
Yeah, happy belated Thanksgiving, because this is now the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Anyways, we'll talk to y'all next time.